What's up, everybody? It's tier list time. Today we have an RTA Season 14 tier list done by Seiishizo. If you guys aren't familiar with Seiishizo, he is a constant G3 in everything. He's got Legend and Arena. He's got a YouTube channel, Twitch channel. You can see the YouTube channel right at the top. I will leave the links in the description. He is high-level player. He was in SWC as well. He does these RTA tier lists every season for the past couple seasons, and he's a friend of mine, and I thought we would go through and we would just tear it apart, say everything wrong with all this stuff. Now, a few disclaimers, though. A lot of times when you see these high-level tier lists done by, like, G3 players, are like, oh, wait, why is this? I fight these units all the time at my rank, and they do phenomenally. Why is this so low rank? This is a tier list basically based on like top 100 RTA gameplay. This is not a tier. First off, this is not a tier list based on anywhere else in the game. This is just for RTA, and this is basically for top 100. It's the things that work in top 100, the things that are very effective, and also the things that don't work very well in the top 100. At the highest ranks. And also, I think he disclaimed that there was SW. It also takes into consideration units you're probably going to see in SWC, etc., etc. So keep that in mind that some of the units at the bottom tiers can be phenomenal for you guys that are like, I just want to get C1. And a lot of the units I have, I was going to Lucian, I was going to use Garo, and I was going to use Odin and like Mara, and I was like, if you are just trying to get C1, then a lot of those units at the bottom are going to be very, very effective for you trying to get that rank. This is basically, it's a different style of gameplay in the top 100. Things work a little bit differently, and they have a lot of counters and a lot of answers to cleaves and things like that. So that's one of the reasons that, because I mean, you go in Fighter 3 and be like, I'm going to Gani Hathor, and then you get cleaved, and you're like, what did I do wrong? And it's a different meta in the lower levels, mid levels, and top 100 gameplay. Anyway, so I just want to disclaim there's a couple other disclaimers here. Oh yeah, this is not like S tier, triple S tier, whatever. This is numbers 100 through 95 is God tier, 90 is semi-God tier, 85 through 80 is very solid units, 75 is this is not win rates, by the way. This is not based on win rates. I think maybe the numbers confuse some people. This is just like how he likes to do it. I've seen some other people do it like this as well. 85 through 80, very solid units. 75, good units, but it can still be used pretty often or have good kits. 70, good, but more situational. 65, occasionally can work, but have an overall low win rate. 60, units that have give away your draft too much or that are just bad. Give away your draft. Oh yeah, you know what? Tiana can give away. Wait. I'm looking at this, the 60. I'm like, give away your draft too much. Some of those units don't really give away I mean, some of them kind of do, but yeah. Give away your draft too much or are just bad. 55 unless you know what they Drunken Masters represent Art Masters. So you see the 5 Drunken Masters completely at the bottom. 5 Drunken Masters all at Geldenir rank. I would have to already disagree with this tier list, and also, that's very lazy. You saying none of them are any good at all. I already seen people use them effectively. I'm not saying all of them are good. I'm not saying they're top tier. I'm just saying, like, I've seen people use them effectively. I happen to have one. He's actually not that bad. I was actually watching someone else using him yesterday even in, I think it was Guardian or Guardian 2 gameplay. He was using him in a decent amount of matches. Anyway, some of them are pretty decent, actually. And then we have, what else? Tier list based on biased opinions, so you don't have to agree. And again, it's a different, like, if you're trying to get C1, and you're like, I'm gonna pick all the stuff, I don't have Ragdoll, Gianna, Artemis, like, you don't have to have those things to get C1. You just cleave your way to C1. You get twins, you see twins at 60, like, that's gonna still be fine getting you up to C1, man, really, as long as you have good enough runes, right? Let's see what else, and just some other disclaimers talking about who he is and stuff like that. Anyway, let's get it actually started. 4 minutes into the video, let's get it started picking apart this. Let's get it started at the top of the list. I mean, that's a great place to start, right? Rank 100, nobody's at rank 195. Arta, Rag, Gianna. Same thing you've always seen, Arta, Rag, Gianna. Now, here's an interesting thing, though. Artemiel, I was gonna say Ragamiel. Artemiel, Ragdoll, Gianna, or Artemiel, Ragdoll. People have gotten much better at countering Artemiel. And Ragdoll also got a little bit of a nerf. It wasn't the last balance patch, it was the balance patch before that, right? He got a little bit of a nerf, so he does less attack gauge boost for your team. I don't consider him a must-ban situation anymore. Like, I'll even let him through, where I was always banning him before. I was like, well, I can't let Ragdoll in, he's way too OP. And Artemil, of course, people have gotten better at countering Artemil. However, right, those units should be a little bit lower on the list. However, 2 units have made this very much a different meta. They have kind of changed things from the last season, how you were seeing a little bit more of other units the last season. Now, the Molly and the Vigor being so prominent in high level, in all of RTA basically, but especially in high level RTA, it's kind of made it more of a bruiser meta now, right? So you see of course a lot of the same units, but as previous seasons, but you see the Molly and Vigor kind of made it more viable to run more bruisers in the very, very top level of RTA. So it's kind of another thing, like why Vivachel is Vivachel and also Jaeger and things like that. I mean, they were already good, but it just strengthens any bruiser type unit. You know what I mean? Like Vivachel is a bruiser, Jaeger is a bruiser. These bruisers are really, really strong now. They were strong before, but they're even stronger with the Mollies and the Vigors in there. With the glancing hit, increased chance of landing a glancing hit with the Molly. She always had that, but now she's got a much bigger heal. A much, much, much bigger heal, which just makes her more viable. A lot of people picking her even early in the draft. Same thing with Vigor. A lot of people with that, he's got a speed buff. He's got a crit resist, right? And he's got really, really fast base speed, which makes him viable to be on Violent and just still outspeed some... I was going to say still outspeed some Swift. At that high level, you're not really outspeeding any Swift units on Violent, but still you're going to outspeed like a lot of the enemy's units. If he's on one of your faster Violent sets, he's going to outspeed a lot of the enemy units. So it's really, really annoying to deal with some of those things. It's a great bruiser, great things to increase the viability of bruiser comps at high level. So anyway, and then you see, of course, Hathor. Hathor's always there. You see Nephthys. You see there's another one like anti-Hathor right there. This is a bruiser unit. This also goes through, like, one of the nice things about the Viva Chat. Manga, you want to do that a little bit better? One of the nice things about Vivachel is she goes through, she, like, the glancing hit and the crit resist don't really apply to Vivachel. She's like, I'm just going to decrease your attack gauge, your HP regardless, right? Another thing, Han got a big buff in the balance patch. Big fan of that buff, by the way. I told you guys. I said it's going to be just a little bit more, just a little bit extra attack gauge, so he fully increases attack gauge and a defense break or a strip, either one, and a full increase of the attack gauge, and you're going to see him being good. I called that 100%. I gotta say, I called that 100%. And then no surprise here, the Tianlang and Yanhong still very, very, very extremely solid units. Honestly, for me, I feel like Tianlang 95 and then Artemil in 90. That's just me though, because Tianlang is nasty, nasty, nasty units. Then you see, interestingly enough, you see Barbara and Savannah up here at 85 tier. And there were people that went through and said, mark my words, not me, don't mark my words on that, because I didn't say that. With the buff, with the change to the Beast Riders in the last balance patch, how they keep their harmful effects and beneficial effects when they change from when they get dismounted from the Beast. They were like, these units are going to be garbage now. These units are going to be not seen anymore. They're going to go very low on the tier list. They're not going to be used that much. Watch exactly what is going to be. They got changed. Barbara got nerfed too. Still very high on the tier list. You still see them all the time. Masha's a little bit lower. I have to agree with the Masha being a little bit less fun to play with, less useful. I happen to have all three of them on different accounts, so I kind of get the idea of the gameplay with them. And then I also have seen many matches of different people using them in super high level, and yeah, they're very solid units, but the Masha is definitely not as strong, in my opinion, as the Barbara and Savannah. And also, if you look at the pick rates and the win rates, that will tell you that too. I think this guy's a little high, this demon, because I think a lot of people are at that level of RTA have an easier time dealing with him. I think that he could be really, really nasty and steal so many wins at mid-game RTA, but I don't feel like he's as strong in higher level RTA. Chiwu, weirdly enough, even though he doesn't bring too much to the table, he's a nice combo. Excuse me, he's a nice combo with Belinus, with Nephthys, with Savannah, with Ganymede, right? He's a nice combo with all those units, which is crazy to see Chiwu, but I'm just based on the pick rates, right? Even though he's not super effective just by himself, he's still an effective unit with the different other units that you're seeing in the meta. So some units enable other, which is kind of the thing, is some units enable other units to shine more, right? So Savannah, Ganymede, Nephthys, and Belinus and whatever. I mean, Belinus has not really changed very much at all. But some of those other units like Savannah and Nephthys have enabled Chiwu to shine much more than he was in previous seasons. Then we have, we're so long doing this, man. Taranis, I love Taranis. I think he's an extremely solid unit. I love Taranis. Oberon is an interesting unit. I mean, it's kind of hard to bring Oberon into things, as I have an Oberon on one of my accounts. But people in the high level use him a little bit more as a bruiser. He's a bruiser, and he's also got that skill 2, which is kind of like Gani, so he can kind of enable some more toxicity there. So I don't think I would disagree really with the Oberon. Yeah, I don't think I would disagree with the Oberon. The Bulwark, here's the thing. For me, Bulwark should be way higher, but I know that he's not that OP. But I think it's cool to see Bulwark this high on the list, because I know some people are like, oh, Bulwark's not that great. But it's hard. I don't have a Bulwark on any account, and it's always a challenge for me to play against Bulwarks. Those things give me a hard time, man. Ganymede is Ganymede. He's always strong. Hertite is also a very strong unit. CR Okeanos. All these things fairly accurate here on the tier list. Okeanos, same thing. You know what? At least I'm seeing someone give some credit to Okeanos, because I love Okeanos. I love to use Okeanos. He's one of my favorite units to use. He's got the reset. He's got the AoE CC. Love to use that unit. I don't know why. The Red Santa Claus. I don't know why. I love to use that unit. I mean, he's effective, so maybe that's why I love to use him. He's just nasty. And then we have the Wunsa, the Dark Pioneer. So one of the things with the Wunsa is, you may be like, whoa, the Fire Pioneer is higher in the tier list than the Wunsa. I think that's basically just because of the speed lead. I think if Wunsa had a speed lead and Chiwu didn't, if they swapped leads, Wunsa would be even probably 90 tier, and then Chiwu would be like, yeah, you think she would be maybe like 75? 75, 80? Maybe like 75. What do you guys think? Where would you put Chiwu if he... Never mind. It's irrelevant. Chroma really strong in the Molly Vigor craziness meta. Then what else do we have here? Actually, Leo is, interestingly enough, Leo is very strong. Leo got stronger in this meta of bruisers and Molly and Molly and Vigor. Also, I feel like our people... Now, I didn't see this specifically, but I feel like some people may be using Leos to counter the Beast Riders, right? Because if everything is limited, if they do damage based on speed, and everything is limited to Leo's speed, I feel like that would be a logical thing. It's also crazy to see. I've felt for a long time that Sekhmet was underrated. People put her so low in the tier list. I'm like, these units I feel like are pretty solid units, and when you put especially the Abellio on crit damage, you're going to see a totally different gameplay with the Abellio. He's a totally different unit. He's a bruiser then. And again, bruiser meta. Sekhmet is kind of interesting. One of the reasons for Sekhmet, a lot of people picking Taranis, because Taranis is such a crazy good unit. As soon as you pick the Taranis, it's easy to pick Sekhmet into a Taranis, and I have gotten... I love to use Taranis. I'm a dirty Taranis abuser. However, Sekhmets absolutely destroy him. They really wreck him bad. So, yeah, and then Bastard's always good. Bastard's a fantastic unit. I'm not sure how I would necessarily feel about these two snipe units. I guess that's fine for them on that place in the tier list. Juno's a solid unit, especially against a lot of the CC things, like these ones right next to her. So I feel like that's solid there. She is pretty toxic. You know, this is why I say all the time, you know, you never know what's going to get buffed and changed. People are like, Ileana's trash, feed Ileana. LD 4-star. Don't feed Ileana. She's an LD 4-star. Yeah, but she's garbage. We're not going to use... And then you see Ileana rise to the top, and everyone's like, oh, Ileana. Oh, Ileana. Oh, I can't believe I fed my Ileana. Who told you to feed Ileana? We keep saying, keep every LD 4-star, keep every LD 3-star, keep all the different things. Keep one of everything in storage. Because you never know what's going to get buffed, what's going to get changed. Ileana's such a solid unit. Such a great unit. I feel like these two, actually I feel like these three should be a little bit lower because they're kind of, I mean, that can be a little crazy though. Well, actually, I feel like maybe one tier lower for the Lydia. The Julienne, I don't know, man. Like, I've gotten wrecked by Julienne before, but I still don't think he's an extremely crazy monster. Maybe more just because the Julienne, maybe more just because the Molly and the Vigor enables Julienne to shine. I'll defer to Seiishizo on that one because I haven't personally seen the gameplay of those three in synergy together. So I'll just, or that and Ragdoll or something, right? So I'll just defer to him on that. This one and this one, Nyx I think is very situational. Lydia I think is more on the situational side as well. I honestly don't see them too much, as much as I would see like the Vanessa, the Vertiheel kind of things. Like, I feel like these are not, they shouldn't be in the same tier. Yeah, I feel like they shouldn't be in the same tier, honestly. Even though they're LD5s, they're too conditional, situational, compared to Vertiheel, which is a great pick in many situations. Although the Vigor Molly, I understand that Vertiheel's a little bit less relevant now based on those units. And then Vanessa's just a great pick. I feel like Vanessa should actually be higher. Maybe I'm alone on that one, but I feel like Vanessa should be higher, and these two units should be maybe lower. Then what else do we have? Velojoule. I've seen more people use it. Velojoule I'm a huge Velojoule fan. I just like the unit in general, right? I'll pick him even if it's not the right situation to pick him. I'll be like, yeah, but he's a fire archangel, so I'm gonna pick him. Fantastic. I mean, fantastic unit, but I'm trying to think, gather my words. Velojoule is great. I love Velojoule. I don't think that he's as good as Vanessa, but I'm glad to see Velojoule on here at the very least. I'm not gonna argue because I'm just glad to see the Velojoule on here. Here's another thing that I've noticed. Lauren, I'm seeing less Laurens this season. Have you guys noticed that too? They're still there, but I'm seeing less of them than the last season. And then we have some of these, and I feel like here's my. Let's go back here. I'm feeling like this Diana, I don't see her as much as I used to. I think maybe she's a little bit more viable now because a little bit less people are using these two in high level. They're still used, don't get me wrong, they're still used. But I feel like maybe that's giving her more viability because this is someone that loves to use Diana. As soon as your enemy picks Vertiheel Lauren, that's basically Diana will never get a turn. She will never get a turn. Vertiheel Lauren, Antares, like there's such... things that really, and I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm fine using Diana in pony form the entire time. Don't need to switch to human form, like especially with the Antares there. I'm just like, I'll play around it. Solid unit, fantastic unit. Okay, Water Monkey, even better. Water Monkey, so one of the things with the Water Monkey is a lot of people saying that they're gonna use him more tanky on the tanky side and put the pure damage artifacts like damage based on HP, damage based on speed, like extra damage, because that's just flat damage. That's not like a defense check. That's just pure damage. Some people refer to it as true damage as well. I refer to it as pure wait. Whatever. It's damage that basically ignores defense. That's the point. So the Water Monkey with that on skill 3, I've seen some people that have been enjoying it. I think Island Grown actually has a video on that, so take a look at that on Island Grown's channel. If I remember, I will leave a link in the description. Makes the Water Monkey definitely even better with these artifacts. And then Light Monkey's always been one of the best CC units. Honestly, one of the best nasty CC units. He's always been good, and then he just got 2 buffs. In like what this year he got 2 buffs, but he was good before then. And I'm like, he didn't need those buffs, but I'll take him. I'll take the buffs. I'll take those buffs. He's a solid unit. He's definitely better than the Nyx and LNO. I'm just saying. Anyway. And then we have 70, Tableau, which you guys voted on the top light monsters that needed a buff. But you see him here at the 70. I get it. But it is also comp dependent, right? So some comps, you see him less in high level. In very, very high level, you see him less. Belinus is a great pick, especially with the Chiwu, which I was talking about. This one, Samath. One of the big things with Samath is his speed lead. His speed lead enables him to be much higher on the tier list. If he didn't have the speed lead, he'd be much lower on the tier list, this Samath. Ethna's a great unit. I'm glad to see her here. These units counter a lot of annoying things in the current meta. Celia, I feel, is too... And I understand why he said Celia over here, is because if she's super fast on Swift, she can potentially wreck face. But she's too RNG. That's kind of the thing. Like, her skill 3 is not 100% gonna land. Her skill 3 is not... It's not a reliable skill 3. Like, I don't even know why. I mean, I know why it was nerfed. It was nerfed because they wanted to nerf the water one. So the light one got nerfed as, like, kind of a side effect of nerfing the water one. But Celia is not reliable. So she shouldn't necessarily be this. I mean, I loved Celia before she got nerfed, right? I was so happy to get her. She was one of my most wanted units. But there's a lot of ways to counter Celia. Either no buffs, and it's RNG if the second skill will land, right? Or a ton of buffs, and you can only strip one. Beta's a decent unit as well. I think more because the Bruiser meta enables Beta even more. Miho's toxic. Tetra is... See, it's a mermaid meta. It's the mermaid meta. Tetra counters a lot of annoying nonsense like this and this and this and this. So Tetra counters all those things. I mean, she always countered them, but very, very solid unit. I don't know if I agree with Volantis being here. I think that currently, because it's RNG, and he doesn't have crazy base speed. So you either make him very fast on Despair, or you make him on Swift and hope, Despair is great because he's got double AoEs, but you can make him Swift and then hope that he actually does his things, but his activation rate is not 100%. I really believe that his activation rate should be higher and he would be a solid unit. Well, he is a solid unit. But he's not. But if you see me, I have him on the Europe server account, and I don't always pick him because I'm like, it's not always the right situation to pick him. It's very dependent, right? Anyway, I believe that she should go up on a rank, and this should go down. If his activation rate was higher, I think that he would actually go up. This one I'm not going to really comment on because I have not seen enough gameplay for her to actually comment on. Wusa's okay, kind of as a later pick situation in the draft. This guy, I've seen too many good players use him. I think maybe he should he be a little bit higher? Because I've seen some good, like 1 tier higher, not like crazy higher. Triton, I feel, could be okay. But he doesn't really do a lot of damage. He's a wind unit. There's a lot of counters to him that are fire. He doesn't really do too much damage, especially Vertiheal is really strong into him. He's not really going to get a whole lot of Veligeuls. Veligeuls can counter him because he's wind and he actually attacks with his attack. So he can just get resisted. But yeah, I'm not too fond of Triton, but he can be... I've seen people use him. I just don't love him specifically for that. I mean, if this was an arena defense tier list, and put Triton at super triple S 100%, right? Maybe not 100% because there's still, you could argue... Never mind. Anyway, he'd be higher. That's what I'm trying to say. He'd be higher. Lima, I'm not sure how I feel about Lima. I'll just defer to him as this is good for here. This unit I love. I love that this is here because I think it's such a solid unit. This is basically an LD Nat 5. That bomber, that light bomber is so awesome. He's such a good unit. I love him. What do we have? Alexandra? I don't think she should be. I think she definitely. Here's the thing. Definitely not with Amelia. I don't think that those should be in the same tier. I think Amelia should be higher. I think Alexandra should be lower. As is someone that has both and knows how often that I can pick both and how often I see both as well. Fermion, I don't know if he's... I like Fermion personally, but I don't know. I think maybe he should be a little bit lower. And then these ones, we're going into like the wacky territory, right? We're going to like... Wait, what exactly did he say about 65? He said 70 is... good, but more situational for 70. More situational. Yeah, I guess I could agree with the situational. I really like this unit too. Some of these are my more wanted units. 65, he said, is occasionally can work but have an overall low win rate. So some of these I very strongly disagree with. First off, I don't think Chao and Leica should be on the same. I've seen Leica be stronger just in actual gameplay than Chao. I think Chao could be good, but I've seen. I just haven't seen. He's too easy to control, and again, he's a bruiser though. Both of these are bruisers, which has enabled some of these other units to be so high in the tier list, but these are still ranked at 65. I have noticed though that Leica's been actually doing pretty good. Antares, man, I think Antares maybe should be a little bit higher. Lucian, a lot of people know how to counter Lucian. However, Lucian, if this was a tier list based on like C1, like Fighter 3, or for any fighter level, man, Lucian would be so high. Because you could effectively use Lucian, use the crap out of Lucian. He'd be so good, so good, so good, so good. So yeah, Lucian would definitely be higher if this was like a lower tier kind of thing. But people are just too prepared to how to deal with Lucian. Although I have seen some crazy LD comps that just like get pwned to Lucian, and they're like, because they're so busy trying to counter like all the other stuff that they see at high level, and then someone pulls a Lucian on them, and they're like, I don't know what to do. It's been so long since I've had to counter this, and they get wrecked. I love and hate it at the same time. I love it to see Lucian beating LD5s, but I also hate it when Lucian beats me using LD5s. So that's the situation with Lucian. He can still be very effective based on your rank and based on if you can squeeze him in when your opponent is not expecting him. This Dark Monkey, I think, is a phenomenal unit. This guy, 65 is occasionally can work, overall low win rate. This guy is situational, this monkey. However, I think that he's actually is pretty decent, more so now than before, based on the meta of his kind of like enables some bruisers. So I think, and I have seen him used a little bit more now. I've seen some people very hyped about this Fire Monkey with these new artifacts. I think the Fire Monkey could potentially be a little bit higher. We'll see. I haven't seen enough artifacted Fire Monkey going crazy Nanner situation. Also, his skill cooldown on his skill 2 was decreased, if I recall correctly, for not all these monkeys, but the monkeys with skill 2 defense breaks. Right, all three of these monkeys had their skill cooldowns reduced by 1 turn for skill 2, right? And then Mo Long. See, here's the thing with Mo Long is I actually think that Mo Long should be higher by a couple tiers on the list, just based on the meta and based on how many high-level players in the top 100 I have seen picking Mo Long, the bruiser thing, and actually having it work. So I have seen this. I have seen the Mo Longs actually working pretty well lately, especially with Molly being so high on the tier list. It kind of enables a little bit more Mo Long gameplay. I've also, similar to this, she's easy to control. However, she's still, I've seen her at high level doing pretty good. And again, against things like Molly and with or against things like Molly and Vigor that do, glancing hit and crit resist, things that it doesn't matter, right? These do HP based damage, so it doesn't matter about glancing hit and crit resist. And that's one of the reasons that I've seen them more at high levels. And I think that they should be, a little bit higher on the tier list. Josephine, I think, is a great unit. I'm surprised to see her down this low. Annabelle. I've seen more people than ever. Not more people than ever. In the first couple seasons, Annabelle was really solid. Then we saw her kind of like not be really too relevant for a while, and then we're starting to see her again because she got a speed break on skill 3. Now she doesn't do just a defense break; she does a speed break. Laura, I'm gonna have to defer to other people about Laura. Zaratu, I think Zaratu is a great unit. Honestly, I'm surprised to not see him picked more in RTA, but I think he's a great unit. What else? This one right here, Light Beast Rider. The other Beast Riders are so high here. I don't know why the Light Beast Rider is so much lower. She's a great unit. Love the Light Beast Rider. Love the Dark unit. Love the Light Beast Rider, Dark Beast Rider. Surprised to see that low on the list. This one I have not quite played around with enough. I know there's some gimmick teams around him. I see him in arena defense. I've seen some people play with him in RTA. I'm going to defer to not give my opinion on that because I don't have enough first-hand experience seeing it and using it. This girl definitely should be significantly higher on the list because she is so crazy good. Definitely reconsider that unit is fantastic. She is like a Zyros, but for RTA, she's better than Zyros. She's got a first skill that sleeps like crazy. She cycles her turns when she sleeps. She strips beneficial effects with skill 2 and replaces them with debuffs. And then she did both of those before, and she also has an AoE cooldown increase. Phenomenal unit. This is absolutely wrong on the tier list. This absolutely needs to be higher because this is such a good unit. Lydia, I am a Lydia user. I know it's really, some people are very biased on Lydia. Some people love Lydia, some people hate Lydia. So yeah, it's so hard to use her though. Every time I try using her in RTA, but again, it's based on the comps that you use. It's based on the comps that you see your enemies picking against you a lot. Amduat is pretty fun. I see this used in some cleaves, like some slow cleaves. I see this used in some slow cleaves as well. It's kind of hard using Helena sometimes though, because Helena gets shut down by immunity and also by not critting. So there's a couple things that shut Helena down. Isis I always felt like should be higher on the list. I feel like she's so great, and there's so many awesome passives in this meta that I feel like Isis would be better. However, I'm going by the amount of people that pick her in the high level of RTA. You don't see her as much as I feel that she should, right? This guy's a situational pick. This is a situational pick based on certain comps that the opponent is using. Those are last pick situations. You don't pick these first picks, right? You don't pick those first picks. Raul again is, you know, he can be okay if you want to use him. This I feel like I'm curious if he's not a little bit better than this. I personally am not like the hugest fan of him specifically, but I feel like in the bruiser meta, wouldn't it make more sense that he should be higher? Wouldn't it make more sense that other bruisers should be higher? Fire Nagami, I've been seeing less of this season. Varad, I've been seeing a little bit more of this season, actually. Some okay units. This is potentially in the hands of a really, really good RTA player that knows how to use her. This can be very strong, but it's very hard to use. I think this kind of similar to Abellio is very, very hard to use. Praha, another, personally, I really like Praha, but I get that it's not a really RTA meta. Perna, I love Perna, one of my favorite units. Praha, Perna, some of my favorite units. Varad, another great unit. But for RTA, for the meta, it's too easy to control Perna. There's way too many counters right now for Perna. That's been kind of the situation with Perna for a few seasons because in the earlier seasons of RTA, he was way stronger. And now it's just too easy to counter Perna. He's got low base defense. I'm curious if people stack flat defense on artifacts and less damage from XYZ, if Perna may actually be stronger and may be able to rise again. Oh god, bagel puns, come on man, or dad jokes or whatever. Poseidon got a buff. He can't glance now. That's the wording on Poseidon, right? I have a couple of him, but I honestly didn't even play with him since the buff. But I know he got better. But yeah, I'll defer to his opinion there. Shazam he's okay, but he's not like, he's more for Guild Wars, right? This guy, depending on the situation, I know I've seen a lot of gameplay with him and Han, but just him by himself is not super crazy. He's got this skill 3, he strips and he silences, but he's not really that insane. His skill 1 is just a multi-hit, it doesn't really do anything aside from that. Ajir's kind of fallen out of the meta, mostly because of this girl, who's just much faster. She also attack age absorbs. I still like Ajir. But he's just fallen out of the meta based on the Mina, right? Ever since Mina was 2-aid, Ajir has kind of been dropping. Charlotte, I think, is an underrated unit. I think Charlotte is way better than maybe he gives her credit for. Mananananan, I don't know what I would, if I got a Mananananan, I don't know what I would do with him. This unit could be cool. I think maybe potentially underrated. I keep wanting to build him, but I never have the runes that I want for him because he requires a lot of stats. El Sharam requires a lot of stats. You want to make him tanky, you want to make him fast, you want to make him bruiser, you want to give him accuracy, you want to get like, oh geez. DPS, he needs so much stats for El Sharan. Tessarion as well. I've seen some Tessarion gameplays. I've seen more people bringing out Tessarion based on all the passives, but I haven't quite seen them winning with Tessarion all the time. And I think that that's the thing that, like, he's picked more, but he doesn't quite win as much as I feel like he could. And then for 60, again, just to reiterate, or just to recap, units that give away your draft too much or they're just bad for 60. I don't know that this gives away your draft too much or is bad. Same thing with the light one. Both of these Beast Riders should be higher. Both those few things that should be higher. Overall, I feel like 80% of the tier list is in the right spots, though. This gives away your draft. Well, see here the thing is Tiana gives away your draft if you first pick Tiana, and if you're gonna use Tiana with things, you would have to first pick Tiana a lot of times earlier in the, maybe not even first pick, but like pick Tiana earlier in the draft, and then people know what comp you're running, right? You're running one of a couple different comps, and that's that. Because you don't really pick Tiana too much last. Fengyang, I think still has some places, but there's a lot of counters to pick. I still think, I don't know, man. I still think maybe Fengyang, again, some of these other bruisers. I wonder if that was supposed to be a question mark. Let's try that again. I wonder if, you know what? I'm not going to draw question marks anymore. Clearly, I can't do that. I wonder if Fengyang is actually stronger than we give him credit for, based on the meta that we're in right now. This Hodem, not really a thing that you really see too much anymore. You saw it in, you saw him used in comps that were trying to be anti-snipe, anti-single target snipe. But the longer the match goes, the weaker Hodem gets because he doesn't really do anything aside from being a huge HP tank that you suck up HP from other things. He's really not relevant. Jameer, I understand where he's coming from, saying Jameer gives away too much of your comp because, like, oh, Jameer tableau, etc., etc. I've seen some people use Jameer effectively, even without the traditional comp that you would have think that he'd be used. Like, oh, Jameer, that means he's going to use Jameer tableau, and then Lucian Julie, or you could go with Daphnis, and you could go with Mo Long, or you could go with I'm Baron. He was using that a lot as well. I think that Jameer should be a little bit higher on the list. He's got a speed lead as well. I think it's pretty solid. I think you could use Jameer. You could utilize Jameer in more comps than currently. I don't think that he should be like super top tier, but I think he deserves to be a little bit higher. For Nagong, honestly, I feel like Nagong, I don't know, man. Nagong is not an RTA unit. Nagong is not an RTA unit. Draco, I agree with what he's saying. I feel like Draco's pretty strong though. I feel like Gemini is at least a little bit stronger than given credit for. But I agree with him saying Draco gives away the comp too much. I don't think that really makes Draco like bad, but it does like kind of say like what you're like kind of like if you first pick Draco, okay, you're cleaving and we know what units you're gonna pick, but it can still be effective. Cichlid, weirdly enough, I've seen people using Cichlid after the buff. I personally have found that she's much more fun after the buff. She's got very good base speed. She's got a third skill's pretty nasty. First skill also strips. I think she's, you know, she's not super triple S tier. I'm sorry, she's not super 95, 100 tier, but I think that she's still a better unit than we give her credit for. I also think that Jean is kind of a little bit better than we give her credit for too. I also think that Bella's a little bit better than we give her credit for too. These units are potentially nasty though. I don't know how I feel about them. I have personally tried to use them on Asia server. I was using for a while. I was using the twins, right? But then after the nerf, it's not quite as effective. And again, is the Vigor Molly situation of like, there's just, I'm just gonna defer to him on that one. And I get that this is not, I mean, you see her in slow cleaves, but it does give away the comp too much. If you see someone picking early in the draft, if you see that, then you know what they're picking. Same thing with this, that it kind of gives away the draft too much. You know, if you know how to counter that comp, you know how to counter that comp. Like Marin, I feel should be definitely higher. Because here's the thing with like Marin, he has flexibility of gameplay style. You can run him as a nuke. You can run him as CC. If you start picking Lagmaron, and then your enemy starts to go with, for example, oh, I'm going to use Vanessa Triana. Well, you don't need to necessarily use Lagmaron as a nuker. You could use him as a CC unit. You could switch your comp style up to a CC comp. If you're Lagmaron is not really a first pick situation, don't get me wrong. It's not a first pick situation. But if you go with Lagmaron and then your opponent's like, oh, well, I'm going to bring like Juno and Josephine, I'm going to counter your CC comp. I'm going to counter you doing CC. Just for example, you can be like, oh, I'm going to snipe then. So you have a flexibility of playstyle. That's another thing that I like about the Light Chimera as well, like Baron and Sean, that you have a flexibility of playstyle. You can switch it up as you're going. Whereas, like, if you're using something like Odin, you're like, I'm definitely going to be single target sniping in this comp. That's what I'm running. Lagmaron is like, I'm somewhat versatile in I can be run as a CC unit. I can be run as a DPS unit. So, and then we have here. So I do feel like he should be higher. I do feel like he should be higher. So that's, oh, I closed it. That's not what I meant to do. Anyway, I'm using page marker, by the way. You guys can see that, right? Yeah, you guys can still see that. Let me open it up again. Because it's weird to not have it open now. And then these three, I mean, I get why he's here. He's not really that great. If only for the speed lead, I still feel like that is better. Cadiz is still better than he used to be as well. So Cadiz got a buff. I think it makes him more relevant. I don't think he's top tier, but I think at least Warren's like a little bit higher on the tier list than that. And then Trinity just for the speed lead, basically. I'm sorry, but Trinity just for the speed lead, basically. I don't see her being a great unit overall. I just see her being usable for a speed lead. But there's better speed lead. If you have Vanessa, if you have Samath, there's not really much use for Trinity. Maybe that's what he's taking into consideration, that if you have Vanessa, if you were to have all three of those units, then Trinity would not really be something you would pick, right? And then we have Geldnir, Geldnir is Geldnir. We have Jara, who is Jara. We have I really like Grogan. I wouldn't mind getting a Grogan. I feel like these dragons could be like 2 tiers higher. I feel like the dragons aren't that bad. Christina, I'm not a huge fan of Christina. I've seen her work, not a huge fan of Christina. These Drunken Masters, which are supposed to be the Art Masters, I do wait, where are the Street Fighter characters? Where are the Street Fighter characters? Come on, man. This is already old. This tier list is already old. There's no Street Fighter characters. Damn. I feel like these Art Masters should be higher. Not all of them. I feel like sticking all the Art Masters just at the bottom tier is lazy. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say it like it is. I feel like that's lazy, putting every single Art Master at the bottom tier, because some of them can be useful, and I feel like we're going to actually see some more of some of them. I'm enjoying using my Wind one. That's the only one I have. I can see that, like, the Water one has his place, but he's not quite as good as he should be for that place. I wish that he had a little bit more damage, a little bit more threat would be nice. Some more attack gauge reduction. I know he has a little bit of attack gauge reduction, but I wish he had maybe some more for the water Art Master. I've seen him being used a little bit though, because like the things that counter like a Hathor comp, the Water Art Master is good. You bring Water Art Master with like a Hathor comp, right? Not super premium top tier, but I feel like he's better than he gets credit for. I feel like the Fire one, I really want to use the Fire one some more. I forget what the Dark Art Master does, but I still feel like those Art Masters aren't getting enough credit. I don't feel like they're the bottom tier though. I definitely know that they're not the bottom tier. But anyway, for the most part, everything's in good spot. And yeah, the tier list did change over the course of time from, Molly and Vigor enabling more bruisers. Again, that's kind of where we are at the very end. At the recap, is more bruisers are enabled now based on those units. So the tier list is kind of changed based on what has been meta, and then people evolving new counters to that. And then next season, people will have the counters to the other counters, and you'll see little other things up, like higher in the tier list, and then you'll see other things lower in the tier list based on whatever the next balance patch is going to be, whatever the next 2 ways are going to be, and the counters to the current meta. So anyway, that's it for this one. Way longer than it needed to be, way longer than I was trying to make it. I don't know why these videos always take so long. I really don't. I feel like every time I go into them, I'm like, I can do this in 15 minutes. No. Anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you as always in the next one.